Good morning, students. Welcome back to the video lecture series on protection switchgear. Last time we have seen what apparatus protection. That apparatus protection, first apparatus we are going to see is transformer protection. And last class we have seen what is the transformer protection, what type of relays, what type of fault occurs in the transformer, and how we are going to protect the fault and etc. etc. And that we have seen particular one type of relay, that is what and Buchholz relay. And that Buchholz relay, what are the fault occurring, and what are the factors which need to be considered while choosing the protecting device for the transformer, and what Buchholz relay and operations. So in this class, we are going to see detailed about the Buchholz protections. Come, let's go into the video. Here, Buchholz protection. Last class we have seen. So it is also known as oil immersed and the working of transformer, working principle. When the fault occurs in the transformer, the oil when it gets heated, the bubbles occurs, and even it damages the winding of the systems, etc. So this we have seen last class, and we have described this construction diagram also. Here we can see this is the transformer conserve tank, and this is a Buchholz relay and conserver. We have seen the visible level indicator, and this is the filling holes, etc. So now we can see a small animated video about Buchholz protection. Here, how the transformer is protected. So generally, we have seen highlight. Sorry. So here we have seen two types of mechanism. One is in mechanism of alarm, the other one is mechanism of tripping circuit. So first we can see the mechanism of alarm. So when the low internal fault causes gas bubbles to rise slowly. So if it is an internal fault, is low internal fault, it causes the gas bubbles inside of the oil tank. So it to rises slightly. So when the bubbles moves to the conserver, bubbles moves try to move to the conserver, what happens if the bubbles hits this, what happens if the bubbles moves up, it hits this switch, and this switches automatically indicate the switches to alarm. It is connected with the alarm, and the alarm indicates, and this is first type of alarm mechanism. This is the first type of alarm mechanism. Here we can see, you can see the bubbles. When the bubbles reaches this switch, what happens? It trip to the alarms, and if the alarm sounds indicated, then what happens? The protection that the team which solves the protections are over. So oil level going down. What happens when the bubbles increases? The oil level goes down. So then alarm circuit completely and alarm operate. Alarm circuit complete and alarm gets operates. Here we can see the bubbles get increases. Here the bubbles get when the low internal fault, what happens? Here the bubbles get increases. What happens? The oil get decreases. When the so what is bubble reaches the switches, what happens? This fault, this oil level gets decreases. When the oil level get decreases, what happens? Oil level going down. You can see oil line going down, the alarm circuit complete and alarm operates. So this is what a mechanism of alarm circuit. This is what a mechanism of alarm circuit. Now coming to the mechanism to trip circuit, what happens when what happens? High internal fault causing high speed oil flow from the tank conserver. So from what high internal force, high speed oil flows from the conserver tank. Here we can see the high speed oil which flows from the conserver tank. What happens? High speed oil first this switches close to the trip to the circuit. So tripping circuit, here we can trip circuit complete and tripping comments into the breaker. Here we can see that the trip circuit complete, and it gives the signal to the breaker. When the high speed oil reaches, what happens? This switches with, see it when it reaches, what happens? Here we can see this trip to the circuit breaker. So now the circuit breaker is completed, and it gives signal to the circuit breaker to close and isolate the entire system. So this is the main two mechanism. So mechanism one is an alarm circuit mechanism. When the bubbles get increases, what oil level gets decreases, then if the oil level gets decreases, what happens? Then circuit oil level get increases, then alarm circuit completes and the alarm indication takes place. Next, coming to the trip mechanism of trip circuit. What happens in mechanism of trip circuit? When high internal fault, when low internal fault bubbles, and high internal fault, what happens? When high internal fault, the oil speed increases and hits the switches, and switches when trip to the circuit breaker, well, the tripping circuit gets completed, and the trip sends the commands to the circuit breaker to close the circuit breaker. So this is what an main Buchholz relay protections. Now I hope you will be understanding this. Now coming to the protection of bus bar. So before going to the protection of bus bar, here we can see basic protection. Uh, Here we can see basic protection. Here we have seen a bus bar, circuit breaker, current transformer. This is the power transformer. This is what feeder, bus bar and feeder where power supply moves. So this is power supply. If the fault occurs here, we can see that. If the fault occurs here, what happens? The current transformer gets energized. This current transformer gets energized, and this coil get energized, and we are going the electron with an electromagnetic force. What happens? This contactor closes to the NC coil contactor, the NO coil contactor. If the coil contactor closes, what happens? The circuit breaker trips and the bus bar is protected. Here we can see first this what happens when the fault occurs. What happens? The current get energized, and this also get energized. What happens with this moving part? What happens? The contactor with an NC coil is an open coil. Now it is when the contactors get energized, the battery supply and feeder and the circuit breaker closes and the bus bar is protected. So this is the basic power system protection. Chip to the circuit and bus bar is protected. So this is what an basic protection systems. I hope you understand the basic protection of a device, and in upcoming classes we can see another type of apparatus protection. Thank you so much for watching this. Thank you.